Good afternoon and welcome to Ben from Livit Design. Ben, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Stockholm in Sweden.
Thank you very much for having me. Such a pleasure.
Ben, I think it'd be really good if we just started off with you explaining who you are. I know that you're the founder and CEO of Livit, but maybe you give us a bit more about who you guys are, what you do, and what your specialities are within hospitality.
Yeah, we're strange animals. So we're currently the world's largest restaurant design company, but we work primarily with private equity. So our area of expertise is really profit. So what we do is make profitable brands. The design is only a component. So we look everything from operations to training to labor models to technology and target audience, etc. And only when we have all that, then we do the physical aspect of sites. And we do this in 46 countries. We've done somewhere between 12,000 and 13,000 restaurants by now. So a lot of gray hair. And hopefully we've learned a thing or two.
Thank you. That's a fantastic introduction. Ben, tell me, what are you seeing out there in the world at the moment? What are the major trends? What are the major things that you're being asked to look at? I'm looking at a world point of view rather than UK, because I know we can be a little bit closed in the UK and not really look beyond our borders. So I'd really like to know what you're seeing out there in the big wide world.
Yeah, I think what really COVID has done is accelerate. There are a lot of things that many operators, many major brands, innovators, we're thinking, I need to go digital. I need to become more efficient. I need to look at my labor costs. All those things that were on the to-do list of brands, suddenly they've had to do immediately, right? And I think that's the real biggest change, that this has actually forced the industry to innovate in a way that we were not used to as an industry. It's been traditionally a very slow industry with not a lot of innovation, especially on the bigger brand side. So that is definitely what I would say has changed a lot. And there's obviously difference between what's happened in Asia and what's happened in the Middle East and what we're seeing now in the US. So speed of implementation of change, I think is the biggest thing I would bring up.
Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a kind of relatively short-term change, because that's what's happening right in front of our faces right now. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I've seen some of the advances in technology, etc., that have gone from we'll do that in 4 years to we'll do that in 4 weeks. What do you think the long-term effects are going to be? And I guess some of that is a knock-on effect from the short term. But what do you think long-term the difference is going to be for operators in hospitality?
Yeah, I can almost break it down a little bit in buckets, right? From an operating model, I would say labor is going to change forever. The fact that the traditional structure of restaurants with a hierarchy where you have a host, you have a bartender, you have a server, you have a runner, you have a sous chef, you have a head chef, et cetera, right? That's going to change forever. What we've seen with the dynamism with the COVID has brought is, everyone doing everything. And this is something that, as you know, Katy, we also operators, we run our own restaurants labs where we test and innovate. Here in Sweden, we're paying $24 to $28 an hour, right? It's one of the highest, together with Norway, labor markets in the world. And that forces you to innovate even before COVID. Mm-hmm. So really using different metrics, like, for example, guest per labor hour, and understanding how to create throughput with less team members and cross-training, that is something that will change forever, because brands cannot go back to the usual way of doing things. And we're seeing brands that, our Stockholm restaurant here in the midst of the pandemic, we were able to serve 150 guests with only 13 labor hours, 1-3. That means from opening at 10 a.m. in the morning to closing at night, including cleaning. That means that you can actually run a whole restaurant with 1 or 2 team members. That you cannot do if you not have an efficient model and have cross-training on your team members. So on the labor side, I think that's going to change forever. The other thing that's going to change forever is technology. Mm-hmm. In our Los Angeles restaurant, you and I can actually be in a meeting. We can order. We don't have to tell the restaurant when we're coming. Whenever we walk through the door, we break the geofence. The order is triggered to the kitchen. We take any seat, and within 5 minutes, food is on the table. When we are ready, we walk out. We get a prompt like Uber. How was your experience? Do you want to rate? That's actually now implemented. We've implemented it in our Swedish restaurant where we even have it on the patio. So you can walk up to our terrace or our patio and have that complete seamless experience without even touching or talking to anyone. So that's something that we've been working on for years, and just COVID has been the perfect playground to implement that. So I would say labor, we have technology, and then we have the whole off-premise. That's also exploded. I think currently, and one of your questions was the long term, I think there's a very, very big focus on it. On the short term, that will still stay, but there's also being a built up demand for experiences. We're seeing this in Sweden, which I think is the only country in the Western world that never went into a lockdown, if not in the whole world. We have no lockdowns, we have no face masks. Restaurants have been open since day one, and it's very stable. We still see that consumers want to go out to restaurants, but they are much more cautious about choosing what type of experiences they want. So I think it would also be a mistake just going towards convenience and off-premise and forgetting about the experiential side of this industry, because that will return.
And it's so fascinating that you say, you know, how Sweden has coped during this pandemic, and the fact that you don't have those lockdowns, you don't have those face masks. Why is Sweden so different? Because I mean, I've been a few times and I've always had a fantastic time there, and I've always been super, super impressed with everything I've seen, whether it be retail, because we work in retail as well, whether it's hospitality, whether it's, you know, how you look after your employees, whether it's your attitudes towards women, you know, all of those things. Sweden has got big ticks in boxes. Why are you guys so different?
I get this question a lot. You know, I'm a frequent keynote speaker, and I think it's a standing question every time you say you're from Sweden. But I think specifically in COVID, there's a combination of things. First of all, we don't listen to politicians. We'll listen to doctors and scientists. The second is density, of course. This is a country the size of Spain, but with 10 million inhabitants. The third is social structure. You know, in Sweden, the moment you are sick, you stay home, no questions asked. The moment your kid is sick, no questions asked. And that's been like that forever. So as soon as somebody had a fever, they stayed home. Mm-hmm. So I think that's been able to build up some sort of immunity over time. And the fact that, you know, everything was still open, etc. I checked as of yesterday, and we have one person in ICU per day at an average. So it's really incredible to see, but I wouldn't say it's just one factor. It's a combination of factors. One of them is that, you know, I'm half Spanish, right? And if you want to keep the Spaniards off the bars, you need to put the military on the streets. In Sweden, you just do a recommendation and we really obey and follow. So I think it's a combination of things, but it's been fascinating to follow and a little bit frightening. You know, we have restaurants in the US where things don't look that good at all. And to see how the different decisions that people do from a demographic and psychographic perspective can impact the whole industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know, one of my final questions to you is about those reactions. So who in your worldwide travels, who's reacting the best to this current situation? Who's being the quickest, who's being most malleable and the most flexible, and what kind of results are they seeing because of it?
Yeah, I would say the smaller to mid-sized groups, so groups that have multi-unit operations, but have maybe between 5 and 50 units. So they're small enough to pivot, but still have an operating structure that they can actually execute things and innovate. Because if you're too small, you don't have the resources, you're really on a survival mode. Yeah. So those type of brands that, you know, and Pizza is one of our clients in the US that's been an extraordinary, you know, quick and pivot from a culture perspective and not only a technology perspective. And some of the brands that we're working with in the US specifically, Costa Vida in Utah, very interesting how you quickly convert, you know, one drive-through lane to 3 and then on curbside pickup, etc. So actually quickly implementing off-the-shelf technology, off-the-shelf solutions into major rollouts. We've also seen some very interesting things happening in Asia, where we have seen some of our clients, you know, their chefs became delivery drivers, and everyone was doing everything. And the GM does the dishes. And I think we have a once in a lifetime opportunity as an industry and as operators to don't go back to how it was before. I think as human beings, we're longing to go back to how things were. and go back to the normal we had back then. But as operators, I think we really need to see COVID as a phenomenal opportunity to change and change the way we were doing things, because the beauty of this is that consumers are perfectly fine. It's countless the times that many of our clients say, hey, we want to shorten the menu, but we can't because our clients are going to get crazy. Now they can cut them in half, and clients are just happy that you're open. So I really want to encourage everyone to embrace change that comes with COVID, because the opportunities are massive out there if you innovate.
Well, I couldn't have asked you to finish on a better sentence for our viewers. Thank you so much. Ben, it's been enlightening, and I've really enjoyed talking to you, and it's great to hear what else is going on out there in the world. Thank you so much for your time. Ben, CEO and founder of Livit Design.
Thank you very much. Have a great one.
Thanks, Ben.